is I'm putting it in the middle box. It's hard to see with the glare, sorry. And so I had to poke a hole through the top, of course. Now what I'm going to do is, before I even do anything, basically take off the cover and put the wiring in. So how this works is you don't just cut it. What you do is just bend it. You kind of see it kind of open there. I like to go like this, open on one side, flip it, and open on the other side. You know how quick it opened? It's like that. So you don't have to kind of pull it. You just do that. You pull it a tiny bit, not that much. You turn it, and you see how you got that one metal part and wires exposed. You're going to cut this part to separate it. So you take off that and just throw it away. And then you want to cut any sharp parts off. Any part that looks like it can cut the wires at all, or the not the wires themselves, but cut the covers of the wires. Anything that looks sharp enough to cut your skin, basically, get rid of it. That's what I'm doing now. You don't have to do it a bunch. You don't have to trim like a tree. I'm just trimming as much as I can. Now, what I like to do first, what you should do first, is take off this plastic covering. Now, I don't like to pull it to the end because it's kind of hard to cut off if you kind of have it all bundled here. So just gently kind of put the blade around. You don't push down like that. You just kind of put a little tiny bit of weight on it. And if that don't cut it, try it again. You want to make sure that you're not going to cut any of the shells of the wires, because if you do, then you kind of got to pull it out more and then start all over again. You don't want to do that, especially if you have a limited amount of space to spare for your wire, just like in this case. Like, I'm being overly cautious about it. You can just go right around and cut it off. I'm being careful about it though. You also want to make sure not to pull out the whole wire. So that's why I want like this to grab sort of the end to pull it out. So I wasn't going whoop and pulling it, because it's hooked up to the box up there and you don't want to pull anything out from up there. Okay. So now now that you have most of it done, you're going to put one of these on, the red. They're called bushings. You don't need to go in the end and push it. They have a little opening on them, just like that. Go on the end. I like to put the big area without the opening on possible sharp areas, or areas that I think will cut the wire. And obviously the soft part, that's not going to cut anything on the open part. Pretty sure you know what you meant though, or you know what I meant. Now, before, you see I haven't cut these open yet. The reason is, I gotta put these on. So this is, I believe, called a speed clamp or speed closer. Kind of depends on how you call it, really. I'm just gonna put it on. I'm not gonna tighten it yet. I'm just gonna put it on, push it in, and make sure it's on. Okay. Now for part 2. Part 2, I'm going to get my wall saw here, and because the opening is too small for the box. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to cut the whole edge. I'm just going to cut these parts of the hole that I need open to put my stuff in. I'm not going to do a big circle. I'm just going to go like this, do a little triangle. That's how I was taught to do it. Just a little triangle. Don't need to do it deep. Like I'm only doing like 2 millimeters. You know, just enough to get the stuff in. Basically just sanding the area with this. I'm not like cutting deep in. Like here, let me show you. See, I didn't do like a whole big thing. I just, there you go. Try to make sure you can see it. Okay, there you go. Just like that. Sorry. All right. So you do the upper area too. This one I'm going to cut a not deep, just making a wide area, because I got to get this to fit in there once I get this in. So I'll show you. So that's part 2. Now that I have the cutting done for the most part, we're going to do part 3. Part 3 is I'm going to actually put these into the box and make sure, and I'm not going to tighten it yet, I'm just putting it in. Make sure it can fit. Taking a video note for myself on how to install this. And then what you do is then you tighten. It doesn't need to be super tight, you just need it to hold it all in, just like that. Because when you screw it in, the clamp expands to tighten around this, as well as the screw going in to hold this in with your wires in. So this is what it looks like. All your wires coming out. Now in this case they're going through the top, but there are holes in the back and the sides to do it that way too. So just do it however you really need to do it. I'm just doing it through the top because that's where the wire's coming from. So like if the wire's coming from the side, I would in this case do it from one of the sides. Just like that. Now, getting it in part is a bit difficult. So when you put it in, you got your little flaps on the side. You want to kind of push them flat on the side and having the screws vertically inside, just like that, so that you can actually put it in. There we go. Oh, this is actually going in pretty smooth. And don't bang it in either. If you can't push it in, just like that, go like this, just pull it out, cut a little bit more, not a lot, just a little bit more. You don't need to ruin the whole wall now. Just do that, do the sides. You know what, I should cut this side a little more. Before I was videotaping, what I did was I cut off the screws just a tiny bit. You only need to do a tiny bit, just cut the ends a tiny bit. You don't want to cut off the flat ends completely. You just want to cut them off pretty much 3/4. That flat part, I mean, off. I didn't take off enough, obviously. Just cut off a little bit more. There we go. Alright. Put that in. Put the top in first. And then you need to go in for the rest. Just easing it in. I think I accidentally did this upside down, but that's okay. I don't think that'll be a big deal. Hold on.
Yeah, but I don't have most of my stuff in the car.
So it does not matter if it's upside down, because you can just take out the ground screw and put it either above or below where you need. There's nothing holding it in, so you can just kind of unscrew it out and put it, again, wherever you need. So it doesn't matter which way you do it. Now, we're going for what I call the clamping process, which is when you get the screws. So here's what I'm doing. I'll show you. What I'm doing is I'm getting the screws. I'm going to push them towards the back because you won't be able to pull them forward if you have them too far. And I'm going to put it on the lip here, where that little nub is, and I'm going to drill it in. And what that's going to do is there's that little leaf right here in the back. It's going to, or it's outside right here in the wall. It's going to go like this forward and clamp it and hold it in. So I'm going to do that now. You want to make sure the box is maybe not perfect, but at least as straight in the wall as much as possible. Doesn't need to be perfect. You just need it at least as straight as possible. So let me just show you for a straight, for example. When I mean straight, I don't mean like, you know, in terms of like this, but I mean like in terms of this. You don't want it looking crooked or anything, just as straight as possible, just so you don't have to take it out, loosen it, and then tighten it again to do it again. You don't want to do that. That's more work. You don't want to give yourself more work unless you absolutely want to and you're a masochist and you just enjoy making yourself suffer. Okay, I'm doing the other side, tightening. You don't need it super tight. You don't need it going in like all the way in the wall. You just need it secured, making sure it's not going to move or anything. So now that that's done, what I'm going to do to prep for when we actually put the outlets in is I'm going to strip the wires just a little bit, just to prep them for when we're ready for those outlets. Because all you want to do, basically, when you're done with this, is just have it all ready for you. So by the time you do this, it's all done. It's all done. Also, if you're wondering, you don't need specific strippers. These are Snap-on. These are, I think, like for cars. And it works for me just fine. It goes from 12 aug to 20 aug, basically. So it works. I can also, like if there's solid wires, I can also go like this and bend them with these. So they're standard. I prefer, if you do get some, get ones like this in case you need to go like this and twist around screws whenever you do outlets or switches. But yeah, other than that, that's done. This is installing a metal box in a wall in a commercial environment. Have a good day.